Their animals born and raised on Australian pastures, shipped north to neighbouring Indonesia, and once there meeting slow, tortured deaths.
There's no defending it. What we saw last night was horrific.
I was shocked by the image I saw last night, and many Australians with me would have been deeply appalled at the scenes they saw.
The footage of Australian cattle being beaten, whipped and kicked prior to slaughter was shown on the ABC Four Corners program. After watching the broadcast, the Federal Agriculture Minister called for an inquiry and an immediate moratorium on the type of livestock restraint boxes being used in Indonesian abattoirs, installed with the help of the Australian cattle export industry.
But in addition to that, it's really important that I get the department to provide to me a range of regulatory responses that are available to me.
Others have their own ideas. Independents Andrew Wilkie and Nick Xenophon calling for an immediate halt to the live exports to Indonesia. It's a trade that earns Australia $300 million a year.
I'm calling on the federal government to immediately move to stop all live export of livestock to Indonesia.
If what we saw last night was occurring in Australia, those responsible would be arrested, would be charged, would be prosecuted for animal cruelty, and some of them could well end up in jail.
The opposition agrees the mistreatment must be stopped, but it opposes an outright ban on live exports, insisting that's the only practical means of getting beef to parts of Indonesia where refrigeration facilities are scarce.
Unless the industry achieves satisfactory standards, the social licence that they have from the Australian public for this sort of an industry will expire.
But that social licence has already expired, according to the woman who helped expose the mistreatment. Lynn White visited the Indonesian abattoirs and was featured in the Four Corners report.
This is not a trade worthy of government support. Last night Australians heard that one particular Australian cattle was tortured over a 25-minute period after its leg was broken. It was eye gouged consistently. It was kicked in the head. It had its tail broken. It even had water hosed up its nose in a facility that only a month earlier had been visited by Meat and Livestock Australia representatives and deemed acceptable for Australian cattle to be processed through.
In the last 12 hours alone, over 24,000 Australians have joined this campaign. That shows the level of community concern about this issue.
The Northern Territory's cattle industry is concerned too, and it's called for Indonesia to implement measures such as ensuring animals are stunned prior to being killed so they don't suffer unnecessary pain.
What we have to have is stunning adopted across the board in Indonesia.
Already the federal government has stepped up its response, announcing it will suspend trade with the 11 or so abattoirs associated with the animal cruelty. Nick Grimm, ABC News.